Greetings, this is Dilip Karthik and my registration number is 19MIS1062. I'm going to present my digital assignment 2 for the course Information and System Security, and the topic that I've chosen is the most popular and famous and the most one of the most severe cyber security attack, that is the SolarWinds supply chain attack. This SolarWinds supply chain attack is a recent attack that took place in actually it took place in the past in the to October from it was actually from October 2019 to June 2020. During this period, this attack took place. It is one of the most serious attacks. Like it caused a great devastation for around 18,000 companies. It's 18,000 companies itself. In those companies, there may be huge number of consumers and customers. So the effect of this attack was tremendous and innumerable. Now let me explain. Uh, I read about this attack in the news, and it was I was very eager to research more about this attack. So I took this as the topic and I researched more on this, and I have presented a presentation with a lot of content about this attack. And it was much more interesting than I expected when I researched more about this attack. Now let's get into a great depth about this attack, and it's a lot more interesting informations. Actually, the story of this SolarWinds attack is like so. The SolarWinds attack, what malware they used is the Sunburst. Sunburst is the name of the malware that they used for this attack. So actually, what first let us understand the what is this SolarWind attack. SolarWind is actually an organization. It is not. It is a kind of a supply chain provider who provides network management and it is a kind of a management software, and it provides services to lot many companies. Very most popular, and it companies like Microsoft, FireEye, most of the companies in the US use this SolarWinds products for their company's network management activities. SolarWind is one of the most very popular and trusted and liable company that is located in the Texas of US. So, uh, without any confusion and blindly, many companies go for this SolarWinds products without any further thoughts, like any without any doubts. They blindly go believing its security and salient features. But what happened in 2019 October is it's one of the most dangerous attacks and one of the most severe attack. What happened is the hackers attacked the attacked the SolarWinds particular software, and the part of the software is Orion. Orion is a part of the software that got attacked in this attack that took place in 2020. What they did is in the Orion, it's a kind of a zeroth day exploit. We can because when the update was released, they actually it is not the update from the Orion itself. This update was created by the hackers, and it took place such that as though the update was real. So the many all the companies blindly updated their Orion software to this new update version. Actually, this update was not released by the, and it was not the legitimate update sent by the SolarWinds. Actually, this was done by the hackers. It was done using this Sunburst malware. The update was sent as though it was like original. They sent out this update, and most of the companies updated their Orion to the next new updated version. That is the hacked. Actually, now this is the hacked version. Actually, we think updation is a good activity, but this good disciplined activity of updating our software has now turned into a great threat for the company. It's many companies itself. Actually, if you see, um, from actually as I told you, June 2019 to June 2020, it was detected, and it was done in the Orion IT management software through normal update. It was sent, this malware was sent, and 18,000 companies affected, government consulting technologies and everything, telecom and most of the government technologies were also affected. So public was facing a huge issue. That too in the COVID pandemic, this took place and it was very famous and it was most popular attack that took place in the recent times. What can it do? What can it do is it can execute any random code in the client's machines, and it can for 24 hours it can surveil and it can provide information to the hackers, and it can also do a passive attack by executing some random code, whatever it is. It can be executed very easily. Then these are the things about brief intro about the SolarWinds sunburst at SolarWinds supply chain attack. Here's a short summary about it. The hackers executed an attack that exploited a vulnerability in supply chain for management software created by a company called SolarWinds. As I told, SolarWinds is a supply chain management company. It's a supply chain for management software. uh, the hackers exploited its vulnerability in this attack. The software, which is called Orion, is widely used by Fortune 500 companies and government agencies and international companies. Almost every most popular companies use their products. Hackers compromised SolarWinds software and inserted their own malicious malware called Sunburst. They inserted their malicious malware, which then pushed out as a regular update to Orion. It was sent through a regular update through Orion to through Orion itself. So whoever update their software got affected a lot. This attack can be, how can we categorize it? The known knowns is just only the top of this iceberg. We can compare it with the analogy of iceberg scenario. We know only this portion of what happened and what is the attack. I also conducted a very in-depth research, but I could find only up to this level. Only a brief info, not a very detailed information was collected. Only the visible and as of now only kind of partial information is only available to us to know about this attack. Then known unknown is this much unknown, and what are we don't know itself is the huge part in this attack. We don't know what happened and how they took place, how in this kind of the most secure software, how they penetrated into it. All these things are just uh, it's all hidden info till now. We didn't we are unable to retrieve this information. So what are the three takeaways that can be uh, that can be taken from this uh, attack is we need to, as a company or an organization, we need to keep track of all the new attack types. We should not only focus on providing services. We should kind of make a defense system, and this defense system should include, it should keep track of all the new attack types. Then s- providing supply chain security is the most important thing, and it should take care security at the topmost level than anything, because it is providing a supply security as a supply chain to lot many companies who are dependent solely on them for the security. But if they lack the security, the all the companies who are dependent will get devastated, and the consumers who are dependent on those companies, it will affect the public and human population to a great level. And from this attack, many realized that what is the importance of keeping the logs and info for a long time. Because if they maintain the logs and info to some level, they could recover their uh, information and activities. This attack, many companies realized, and now they are maintaining a kind of separation in the database section for maintaining the logs and info. Nearly for 45% of the data space is now uh, reserved for this logs and info for to keep them and to keep them safe for a long time. Okay, now let's see how this attack took place. Actually, these are the information that can be analyzed as of now. Many researchers are going on to identify how to get an in-depth analysis. But as of now, this much information is available. First, the source code was modified. The Orion, actually the Sun SolarWinds Orion software's source code was modified and the style was mimicked. They mimic in such a way that it appears as though it is the original update. And the source code was also mimicked in such a way that no one can identify that it was modified. Then Sunspot is a technology used by the hackers to insert their Sunburst malware into the Orion build. Sunspot is a beautiful technology. Actually, it will take a lot of time to learn about Sunspot. Actually, let's keep it as it's a method that they used to insert Sunburst. Sunburst is a malware into the Orion build. It's through a hijacking process called msbuild.exe process. They put their malware into the backdoor of the Orion software. That's like that how they attach the malware into the Orion software. Then target source code is modified before it has been reached by the compiler. Before even it reached by the compiler, the target source code is modified and it was kept ready. And obfuscation technique was used such that no one, it's a kind of, actually I told earlier, this thing is like hidden technique. It's hiding the modifications such that it appears true to the outside world. That's the obfuscation. And this is the malware base that they used. SolarWinds is the malware base. Then DNS is becoming to command and control. Now they took the control of the whole Orion software, all the communications, and they could do whatever surveillance or any execute any random code. This is what the basic structure of the SolarWinds attack. Now here is a great workflow or a flow of how the SolarWinds attack happened and how it took place. If you see here, first the attacker. Here is the attacker. What it did first, the malicious data was sent to the Orion through an email server. But first, they identified what are the weak links in the supply chain. In the supply chain, not all the companies' links were very strong. There were some places where the connections were weak and the link were weak. They spotted those links and attacked with malicious data through vulnerable email server itself. And this malicious data exploited their whole memory, and they and the attackers and the attackers uh, gained gained the execution control. By gaining the execution control, now they can control the network management activities. Actually, the SolarWinds Orion software is for maintaining and management network security. Now the network security is in the hands of the hackers. Like that they took the security using this malicious data. In this stage is the first stage, and it can be in the chain of attacks. It can be called as the infiltration stage. Then in the next stage, what happened in the next point of what happened is they got the connection established with the Orion with the Orion's backdoor. They got the connection established reverse channel to they established a reverse channel to the software infrastructure. And this establishing a connection and reverse connection, this reverse channel, the whole workflow setup, right? In this stage is called persistence stage in the attacker skill chain. Now the weaponization is the place where the real attacks will take place. In the weaponization, what happens is attackers will send the malware right now. As we saw earlier, the Sunburst malware is now being sent. And then they will also, now since they are having the control right now, they will send the command to activate this malware. They will send the malware, and all the commands to activate the malware is packed into one, and it will be sent to the file system itself, the whole core file system of the infrastructure of the SolarWinds Origin software. They will send the commands as well as the malware, and the malicious process process will now get started, and it will perform malicious local actions right now. All the malicious activities can now be performed very easily since the file system of the email server is under the control of the hacker. Then Ash- then then what happens is, after reaching this stage, the core stage is the authentication server. They need to get the hackers need to get the need to disable all the two-factor feature for easy further accesses, right? So what they do is SMAL token is used for this authentication features. SAML is actually uh, security assertion markup language. It's a kind of a token, and it what they do is they will send a forged SML token. It's not a original, forged one to disable the authentication itself. They will disable the two-feature authentication and everything, and it will also be done. So the further accesses can be very easy, and it can be easily all the further malicious activities can be done easily without any without the involvement of the authentication server. The authentication server's connection is now cut out. Now this stage is the exploitation stage. The defense mechanism on the authentication is cut out. So this is the exploitation stage. Then reads emails. Now they can read all the file system. They can access the file system and emails. Everything can be done. Um, by sending the command to read emails, you can fetch it from the file system, and you can read all the emails. The hackers can read all the emails. And the last but not the final thing is exfiltration. Exfiltration, what happens is, they can send interesting whatever data to the clients and to the on dev, to the developers backend. They will send some interesting data such that this attack is not identified by the outside world. That is what happens in exfiltration. They uh, maintain the secrecy of this attack, so that it won't get revealed that the system is attacked. Without even knowing that the system is attacked, the attack will be continuing forever. That is the last and the final exfiltration stage. These are the stages that took place in the SolarWinds Sunburst attack. Now let me. Okay, now we saw about the attack. FireEye is now let's see how to detect it. There are some techniques, but we can't always detect and protect from all these kind of attacks. But FireEye is the first company to identify that attack has took place in Orion software. So FireEye gives some recommendations to keep to detect the attacks. It is Teardrop is a malware. It is a beacon malware that is used to in this attack. Yara is a set of rules to detect the teardrop. We can follow that rules to detect the teardrop. Then querying internet. Then we need to. Then the companies should need to spend some of the resources to wide internet wide scan. They need to scan the internet worldwide to search for the search for its name in the its host names in the data sources available worldwide. By doing this, they can identify is there any duplication of their host names, or somebody is exploiting their host names. It can be identified, and there are some possibilities that they can protect themselves from the attack, or they can recover from the attack. But the rate of travel would be impossible if a compromised account is being used. If a compromised account is used, then the rate of travel would be impossible. So uh, what happens is, the it using uncompromised account to search for the host names would be better. Then log on tracker module to graph all log on activities. All the logon activities to the software should be taken care using the logon tracker softwares. Then the scheduled tasks and temporary updates should be monitored using some. There are many kind of services provided using. This should be managed. See, these are the versions affected in the Orion software. Here I have attached a link. By going to this link, here in this link, there are a lot of advisory provided by the SolarWinds itself to identify and detect those errors. Actually, what happens is SAML tokens is exploited for the attack, and there is no SolarWinds instances actually. SAML's token was exploited, and it was not of the SolarWinds instances. So the update should be checked, and then only it should be updated. No blind update should take place. Um, then if any SAML abuse, if it has abuse is done, if you updated, if the SAML abuse is done, then a recovery is not such a easy task. It will lead to it will not simply the mitigation is not by simply removing the individual issues or systems or servers. In such cases, the organizations should consider the entire identity trust source as compromised. They should consider the whole thing, everything as compromised, and not only identifying only this is affected. Everything will be affected if the SAML is abused. SAML is such an important thing. If it is abused, then the whole system security is gone. Then the tools to the first stage is the infiltration stage, right? The email server is getting attacked using some malicious code that can be there are some softwares now coming up, some new innovations like Sparrow is one latest innovation that I have found in GitHub to detect the possible infiltration attacks. It can then we can use the long SAML token identity, and tokens with missing MFA details should be identified. All these things are done using Sparrow. Sparrow can identify, and it to some extent it can prevent the infiltration attacks. Then there are some common templates for these attacks, like we can use these indicators to find attacks for signer hash. These are some of the indicators that we can use to authenticate the real requests and malicious requests. These can be used. Immediate mitigations is like then the Orion platform release. This is the genuine release. This should be used. These are some of the mitigation measures that provided by the company itself. Solar and servers should always be isolated. Shouldn't be combined with our normal servers because they are prone to attacks. Infrastructure restrict. We need to at least restrict the scope, and we need to block the outcoming traffic coming to the SolarWinds. The SolarWinds should be separated from the uh, our source code base. Then password change should be done. Review of network configuration should be done. Review federation risk, that authentication application, everything should be kept updated. What are the lessons learned from this attack? Is most of the companies learned a lot, huge. They realized and learned a lot of lessons from this attack. Um, Diligently perform updates improve security. Everybody thinks that updating to the latest version is the most secure activity that can be done, but this attack proved that it is not always true. The most high profile victim in the US, no one is protected from IDs. There is no sophisticated thing in this smart world, and if any sophisticated security can be broken out. This attack proved that, because it's such a great attack that broke out the extensive security. It is one of the biggest ever cyber attacks. The its recovering is actually very complex and challenging. Then we need to be aware, stay informed, and keep the logs. As I told earlier, the logs should be maintained, and a separate space for the log should be kept. And some tips or asset inventory. We need to assume that our system is breached, and we need to keep some precautions beforehand itself. Uh, we need to know what all things we have, what are the data applications, first we need to know what all we have and what can be attacked. The known way should be kept ready. Then you uh, we should not provide enough login. We should The login should be done. The login should be for only for a particular amount of time, and it should the enough login should not be provided to any users or anything. And all these general firewalls, routers, every security should be taken care, and we should not log the passwords. It's very important. File integrity should be monitored. It's also very important. Network flow should be monitored. Network flow, by keeping an eye on the network flow, this attack could be detected earlier, but they have missed it. Then spam and phishing filter content or a great disturbance, and they can also pose a risk. So spam and phishing should not only be deleted, they also should be blocked from the servers. Preventive measures are like, uh, what is your attack surface area? As I told earlier, we should find which is the most prone area for attack. That should be secured in the most efficient way. Network detection and response. Network should be detected, and the eye should always be from the network flow. Strict patching and endpoint protection. Uh, the activity, actually the exploitation will start only after the 4 to 8 hours. So in that 4 to 8 hours, if the if the attack is detected, we can safeguard our system, because the exploitation cannot be done before 4 hours. They need to set up every for minimum 4 hours is required. So strict patching and endpoint protection is like, the security holes should be patched, and the endpoint end-to-end protection should be provided. Uh, then not all the important assets should be stored in one place. They should be segmented and stored in different place to make the attack in a single place, and not everything is attacked. To divide the effect of attack into smaller segments, segmentation would be a great choice. Authentication and authorization, as we all know, it's very important for any organization. Yeah, thank you. We learned a lot from this SolarWinds solar and sunburst attack. It was, I think it was very great and interesting. This is one of the most serious attack, and from this attack we learned a lot of lessons to keep the informations and systems very secure and safe. Thank you. I'll try to research more on this topic, and I'll try to make a research paper in this SolarWinds attack, because this was one of the most interesting attack that I have ever seen. Thank you, sir. Thank you.